Nowadays is difficult for you to detect who is playing just by the sound of the mix because everybody's playing or sounding the same way. Back in this period, personality was king. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be reacting and analyzing a song by this little band known as Bon Jovi, totally not famous at all, and the track in question is gonna be Runaway from the album Bon Jovi. And this track is probably not the most popular, but it's among the popular ones, of course. And this is probably maybe the third track that I heard from them when I was just a little boy. And I never considered myself a fan, a full-on fan of Bon Jovi, but I can't deny that I like their music quite a lot. They have plenty of things that have that allowed me to develop my own sense and style of writing music, and it's pretty much influenced by some of the stuff that this track has to offer. And you will see, in my head, this track is the quintessential 80s track, but we will see once the track begins. But before that, if this is your first time on the channel, I welcome you because in here we analyze the music that we love from the perspective of an active musician and professional music producer, but using language that everybody can understand, in a way to expand our knowledge when it comes to music production, songwriting, and of course, music appreciation. With that being said, let's rock and roll. Here we go. So here we go, Runaway by Bon Jovi.
On the street where you live, girls talk about their social lives. They made a lipstick, plastic, and paint. Such a shame in their eyes. All your life, all your past, when your daddy gonna talk to you. But you were living in another world, trying to get a message through. No one heard a single word you said. They should have seen it in your eyes, what was going around your head. Oh, she's a little runaway. Daddy's girl and fast, all those things they couldn't say. Oh, she's a little runaway.
Sorry for interrupting, but you know the drill. First and foremost, this song is probably the most 80s track I have reviewed in this channel so far. It has plenty of, if not every single one of the moments, sonic moments and musical pieces that makes the style that was used across the rock and roll sphere during the 80s what it is, and very unique. Because, let's begin from the very beginning. The piano, or should I say, the super cheesy by today's standards sound and keyboard is fantastic. I love it. It has plenty of personality. That is slight detune and how high pitched it is, how short that the decay of each of the notes are, is so 80s sounding that I can't stop loving it. Super fun. Secondly, the guitar is way better than I remembered. It's super good, actually. It has plenty of fantastic moments, and we haven't reached the guitar solo. And if I recall correctly, this is Richard Sambora, right? He's the original guitar player for Bon Jovi, playing in this one. He's knocking the ball out of the park. He's super good. Very intricate. He's playing along with the vocals beautifully, adding plenty of musicality, layers, and never clashing with the sound of the vocals. Fantastic. Another thing, the reason why I consider this track to be super 80s is also the way that the arrangement works. The instrumentation used is the quintessential rock and roll ensemble. Of course, we are dealing with the bass, the guitars, and the drums, and the keyboards. But in this case, the way that each of the instruments are used are very much a staple of every single one of those that, by today's standards, we consider them to be kind of cliche when it comes to the production of music in rock, in the rock and roll genre, sorry. And some of them are, for example, the tone of the guitar has a little bit of modulation, a little bit of chorus to it. Chorus, if you're not guitar players, is an effect that kind of creates a replica of the sound and detunes it by small margins and mix it back with the original tone, the dry signal. And it sounds like this. As it is right now, I'm applying chorus to the sound of my voice. And you can see that it's a little bit of a wishy-washy effect. Of course, on vocals, it's not as present as it is with or instruments such as a guitar, for example. But you will hear it as soon as I press play once again. Another thing, the sound of the vocals are drowning in effects, and effects that are quite quintessential to this era, because you got reverb, and you might know what this sounds like because you'll be following the channel, probably. And it sounds like this for those of you who don't know. It sounds like this, reverb, okay? And as you can tell, is a way for us to recreate the sound of a space through the use of an artificial medium. The thing is that in this track is used in an ubiquitous fashion. It's super in your face, and it's something that is quite 80s sounding. And you will be able to hear that effect applied in these copious amounts, not only in the vocals, but also on the snare. You'll see, bah, bah, super big. Now, another thing that I want to point out is add the effect also known as delay, which you might know as well, which sounds like this. Delay. Delay is basically speaking a way for us to replicate the sound coming through the delay several times based on a tempo. Okay, and in this case, you will hear it most of the time on the vocals. The vocals are drowning on it, and they have a little bit of a roll off on the high end, which makes them less in your face. But since they are so loud, you will hear them easily, especially in those moments in which the vocals stop for a few seconds and let the delay, the repetitions take over. Pay attention to that. And those are very much quintessential elements that could be found on 80s music. For those of you who have been following the channel, you might have heard me mentioning these effects before on different productions. Yes, because they're very useful. The thing is that the way that they were used in this period of time is very different from what we do today. Not necessarily because technology changed or advanced. It's much more of a matter of taste, if I may use that terminology. Is if you think about it, it's kind of a style, okay? And one of the things that I like about this era is how audacious and how can I put it, personality driven the entirety of the music production cycles were, because you can hear from a mile away, you can detect that this is a Bon Jovi track just by listening to a few bars from the song without John Bon Jovi being the one singing. Why? Because it sounds like them. And it's something that little by little we have lost throughout time. And nowadays is difficult for you to detect who is playing just by the sound of the mix, because everybody's playing or sounding the same way. Back in this period, personality was king. And it's something that I wish we could bring back in modern music production. Okay, I'm gonna keep rocking this track. And once I talk back again to you, we're gonna be discussing the sound of the mix, okay? So here we go. Could you hear the effect at the end on the vocals? Super obvious. That's exactly what I meant. That's delay. Now, sorry for interrupting once again, but I want to enjoy the last section of the track together and without any form of interruption. So I will like to discuss the sound of the mix right now. So here we go. Look at this. In front of us, we got the this is Decibel, which is the app that you have in front of us since the beginning of this video. And this tool is what allows us to analyze music through the use of a visual medium. In here we got this first section, which is the one that is displaying to us through the use of this white line, the loudness of each of the frequencies that are part of the human hearing spectrum. From 20 hertz all the way down to 20,000 hertz, okay? Under 20, subsonic, above 20,000, supersonic. The thing is this is from the 80s, and how do we know? Well, of course, it sounds like the 80s, but Here now we can see exactly why it sounds like the 80s. Not a huge scoop on the mids, not that much of an increment or a stupid high pop mid highs over here, and non bombastic low end. And I am actually kind of surprised to see this slope not as prominent as I would expected. Why? In other records from this era, you see something a little bit closer to this line. You see, slightly less loud. Why? There are many factors. One of them is, of course, style, but also technology back then, and this is finally when technology will take part in this whole conversation. When you are printing to vinyl, vinyl has a set amount of space, physically speaking, that will be occupied by the groups carved on the vinyl itself that will allow the reproduction of music when you put it on your player, right? But when you got plenty of low end, those groups will be way bigger, will occupy more space, which means that you will have less time available to you to put music in to the vinyl. Does that make sense? The play time will be lower based on the amount of low end. Of course, there are more factors about that, but that's a very simplified way for you to understand it if you aren't aware of it. Now, this is kind of punchy. Usually records have less of a low end energy here, but in this case we got kind of a very, very ballsy sounding. This could be because we might be listening to a remix. I gotta do some research on that, but this could be the result of a remix because it has plenty of low end. And being very frank, I don't remember the song sounding differently, but it could be because, of course, I wasn't born, I wasn't around when this track was at its fullest of popularity. But yeah, in my head, it's always sounded like that. If you happen to disagree with me, please let me know because I'm actually quite intrigued in that one. But going back to the analysis, you'll see that we got plenty of mid-range, super loud mid-range. Why? Guitars. The guitars are super important in this track. And Bon Jovi is famous for many things, and one of them is actually the guitar work is usually quite fun. And in this case, the guitar is not disappointing, not disappointing by any means, because Richie Sambora, if I am correct, is making himself present across the entirety of the track. Every chance that he got to add something of actual value to the track, he does it, and he does it in spades. Super cool, and also kind of a little bit on the more guitar rock guitar hero style, right? A little bit of acrobatics, not necessarily super funky or insane, but a little bit of the Van Halen isms could be heard. I'm not comparing none of them with each other, okay? I'm just mentioning it because I can see, for example, those dive bumps style of things are kind of probably post Van Halen being Van Halen and inspiring all of the different guitar players of his era. Then the highs. Again, this is kind of loud or punchy because we don't have that much of a dynamic response here. Most of it is kind of flat, but it makes sense because the song is very energetic, full on rock and roll. And the mid highs over here, we can see plenty of the cymbals not being harsh, thankfully. And actually, I gotta say that the mix sounds very good. I like it quite a lot. It's very enjoyable, and we don't have that much of a warm tone. This is much more of a flatter sound, due to the fact that we don't have that much of a high roll off on the high end. Very much nerdy stuff, but makes sense, right? Now, let's take a look at the second section of our analyzer. Over here we got decibel, which is the tool that we use to analyze music through the use of a visual medium. And these blue blobs represent the loudness of the track throughout time. Super important because dynamic range stands for the differences and interactions between the quiet part with the louder part of a track throughout time. Why is that important? Because when you are listening to something and something is quiet, it becomes more more introverted, more introspective and kind of close to you, right? And when something is loud, it's much more energetic, bombastic, and full on in your face. And the interaction between both is what makes music to feel organic, okay? And in this case, this song being balls to the wall, I don't think we're going to see that much of a big difference between the different sections, but at least we had some. because this is the introduction, the small, tiny Pianosaurus at the beginning, which is super iconic. And then we got the introduction of the guitars, drums, and then here's the vocals, plus the entirety of the arrangement down playing together. But this is very cool, because it is thanks to this increment in volume that we get the delivery of the first chorus the way it feels. And you can see is a slight bump over here, which I think is the chorus, just to add a little bit of extra push. Now let's take a look at the second section. It's much more, first and foremost, it's not as loud as it was before, because I left the mouse in the same position as the loudest point before. And you can see that the track, even though keeps the momentum going, lower its volume just for it to prepare us to the delivery of what is about to come, which is the guitar solo and the final chorus. So pay attention to how loud or how little it increases in volume while the track is playing. So with that being said, let's enjoy the final section, and then we will give our final counts. Here we go. Okay, at the end, I don't know what was he thinking. That final section with the vocals going as high as they could, as loud as he can, was kind of unexpected. Of course, I know the track because I've been listening to this track since I was a little boy, but it always takes me by surprise. I don't know how often he did it live, because it's a little bit of a stunt and it's tough, man. I know that John Bon Jovi used to be a great singer. I don't know how well. Of course, he still is, right? But age, of course, has it takes a toll on every single one of us, right? But damn, that final section is a little bit of too much. But in good taste, I would say, and also kind of following the style of the time. Don't you think? It gotta be like in your face. It's the '80s, so it's larger than life, and we love it for that very reason. The guitar solo, super melodic. It's not as intricate as the track might suggest. It's very much playing melodic lines that are very, very much in great taste. Everything is fun sounding, it's very well done, and adds plenty of personality to the track. Frankly put, very, very good song. Now, I didn't mention, and I don't know how I could forget about that, but the arrangement, the vocal arrangements are incredibly well crafted. They sound amazing. Very smooth sounding, and the entirety of the arrangement is beautifully put together. I mind that when they were playing this live back in the day, everybody sang, right? All of the band members. And if you happen to have the chance to see them live perform these tracks back in their heyday, please let me know, because it would be awesome to see what do you think about them. And I always imagine them being fantastic live. Maybe because I saw some of the music videos, probably the next one, which is Living on a Prayer, is basically just a compilation of different shows, and it seems that they were fantastic live. I always wanted to see them, of course, but it was basically impossible for me. But whatever. So, this is it. Runaway. Fantastic song by Bon Jovi. It might be one of those songs that is not as popular as some of their tracks, but let's face it, Bon Jovi is a super popular band and everybody knows about them. And everybody loves to hate on them and everybody loves to love them as well. So please let me know, where do you find yourself when it comes to Bon Jovi? And if you happen to like this kind of content and this kind of analysis, please let me know by clicking on the like button underneath. And also make sure to subscribe, because that's the best way for you to get in touch with us and also, well, to be notified when another review like this comes down your way. With that being said, the only thing left to be reminded is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I will see you when I see you.